Well, hello and welcome to Your Stocks. I'm Nigel D'Souza and with me is Sumaira Abadi. Hi, Sumaira. Well, the markets, we started off well in the green. We were running along. We did have a big run. In fact, we were up close to around 100 points. Went to around the 11,550 odd. But from the top, we've seen a correction. Though as we speak, some bit of a consolidation is what we're seeing. A quick check on some of those European markets. They as well were trading mildly in the red the last time I checked.
Yeah, Nigel, and a clutch of IT stocks have also taken a big beating, just in the last few minutes odd. So that too would be weighing on the downside. For now, the key indices flat. But first up, let's take you through our top stories. So market is off the early highs, weighed down by weakness in L&T, Maruti and HDFC. Reliance continues to bat for the bulls. Mid-cap index underperforms. The rupee surges to an 8-month high, supported by foreign inflows and lower trade deficit in Feb.
And the battle for Mindtree heats up as sources suggest that L&T board to consider a hostile takeover today, even as Mindtree promoters look to thwart a takeover by considering a buyback on Wednesday. Mindtree co-founder Ashok Sutta tells CNBC-TV18 that he sees it as a win-win situation for shareholders and investors.
And Maruti shares buckle on reports of a production cut in March. The auto major is expected to cut production by nearly 27% to its lowest level since March 2015.
And Jet Airways suspends operations to and from Etihad's base of Abu Dhabi from today. Sources tell CNBC-TV18 that Etihad is unwilling to infuse even interim cash till differences over terms of MOU are resolved.
And India's first and Asia's largest REIT by size is launched by Blackstone-backed Embassy Office Parks today. IPO to remain open for 3 days, and analysts tell CNBC-TV18 that yields could range between 7 to 8%. Those are our top stories. Let's invite our two experts, Gaurang Shah and Prakash Gaba, will be answering all the queries being sent in by our viewers. Gentlemen, good afternoon to both of you. The first query comes in. We have Mr. Godavarthi Ajain Yulu, who's written to us from Andhra Pradesh. He has 100 shares of ITC, which he has bought at 279 rupees. He bought it just about, 3 months ago. He's a short-term investor and wants to know what to do. Prakash, let me guess, a hold from your side?
Well, ITC should not be short-term, should be long-term, I feel. So what to do is basically just increase your time frame. It's certainly a good stock, the good base formation closer to 270, 280 zones. I don't think it'll ever go there. If it goes there, it's damn good. But if it goes up, I think it's going to 320 plus zones. So hold on for a long term.
Okay, all right. The advice in terms of technicals is to hold on for the long term. But Gaurang, let's come across to you. In terms of, you normally look at stocks in longer time frame. What would your advice be?
Thank you, Nigel, and good afternoon to all of you all. So I do agree with Prakash when he says that ITC is a stock that you should not buy from a short to medium term point of view. I think long term, there are all possible indicators that after a prolonged period of consolidation between 260 and 280 to 90, the stock has given some visible strength in terms of earnings, especially if you look at a long term point of view. And our sense, Nigel, is that minus the tobacco, cigarette business, other business verticals have shown significant improvement, and in the quarters to come by, you are going to see that improvement going to a new higher level. By the virtue of that, I think your earnings are going to be much more stronger. We maintain a buy on ITC from a long-term point of view, and if I'm not mistaken, the target stands at 345 or 365.
Okay, all right. Well, that's the view on ITC, but let's get in our caller who is standing by. Mr. Rajiv Kashyap calls us from New Delhi. He has a query. I believe he has investments in BML. Hi, Mr. Kashyap.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, how can we help you? I believe that you've bought BEML. You're making some money, I think, now. Tell us your query.
I bought it about 9 months ago for 960, and it's gone through a huge fluctuation. It went down to 500 levels, and now today about 4 or 5% jump. It's gone to 1,000, 1,100. I don't know.
You must be a relieved man after seeing the kind of bounce back that we have.
Relieved, but temptation is to book my whatever little profit and bail out, or is it worth holding? Will it reach 1,300, 1,400, which it once did, like a year ago?
So you're willing to hold on to it, provided there is enough reason to hold on to it. So let's help you with regard to to this particular query. Gaurang, coming across to you first. Seen the stock fluctuating as the investor tells us, but happy to be sitting in the money at least. Continue sitting in the money and hope that the stock moves up? Or do you believe just book out and get into something better?
So Nigel, Mr. Kashyap has got valid reasons to worry about, because I think from 1300, 1400 levels, we saw one side down move on BEML. And on the earnings front also, there was no great significant improvement. Let me give a disclosure, we don't have any fundamental view on BEML, but since you waited, you have tried your patience, and now the stock is in the green and you are in the money. If I was, I would advise him to rather look at L&T from a long-term point of view, on which again, on a long-term basis, we do have a positive coverage. And the earnings that went by, there was significant improvement on L&T side. So my advice would be to switch on to L&T, of course, no specific view on BEML.
All right, Prakash, you heard our caller speak about BEML. What's your advice? I mean, is there reason to remain invested at least for some more gains?
In fact, there's a classical textbook pattern where it's given a good buy signal generated closer to 890 zones. The pattern that is given, it looks like it can even climb to levels close to 1130, 1200 zones. It may take its own sweet time for that, but it looks like it can climb there because the pattern is a textbook classical pattern. So I would go on, continue to hold it.
Okay, up next, MV Pranav is on the line with us from Hyderabad. Mr. Pranav, hi, good afternoon. How can we help you?
Yeah, so I have around 700 shares in Yes Bank, around 360 rupees. So I'm holding it from last 6 to 7 months.
Okay.
So should I average it more or should I start selling it as of now?
Well, Prakash, let me come to you first on this. Averaging on the downside can be quite tricky. He's already making a huge loss despite the bounce that we've seen, in the last many days. What does he do now?
See, two things are there in Yes Bank. A, closer to 150, it's bottomed out. I don't think it's going to breach that. One. Number two, if it does go up, yes, it's going to go up. Where? I have a feeling it can climb to around 290, 300 zones. Do you average here? No. If it comes down, you average. If it doesn't, continue waiting until 300 zones, and at 300, have a fresh look. But yes, which is a good place to add if it around 200 zones? If it comes there, if it doesn't come, just let it pass. Be happy, at least it didn't go. That is a sign of strength.
Okay, all right. Gaurang, what would your advice be?
Well, my advice would be to definitely average at lower levels, and if you bought it at 360, I think sub 200 was a great opportunity for you to average. Well, no harm, you did not do that, but you will need, first of all, Nigel, the negativities that surrounded the bank in terms of news flow is now a thing of the past, and that's exactly the reason why you've seen a pullback from 150, 160 levels to current levels of 245. Earnings are likely to improve, and by the end of this month, you will have a new person taking over charge, and possibly you will have much more better strategies and synergies involving. Not at current levels, but maybe if you get a dip, maybe somewhere close to about 200, 225, at those levels you can consider averaging some quantity.
Okay, all right. Let's get to our next query. I think Mr. Chaturvedi writes to us from Kolkata. He has around 100 shares of Ashok Leyland. Bought at a price at around 82 rupees a month ago. Short-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold on or sell. Making some money, 1,000 rupees odd. Prakash, what would your advice be? At around 80, 82 rupees is what he's got in.
Beautiful place to buy. He bought a place, he's making money. If he's a short-term investor, book out. Otherwise, hold the stock for long-term. I think it's a beautiful stock. Should go to 110, 120 zones. It may take its own sweet time, but he's bought at the right place, right at the bottom. Not much downside for him. Continue holding. I would continue holding.
Okay, you would continue holding on to the stock. That's the advice that's coming there. You've gotten at a good price of around 82 rupees odd. Well, on that note, I'll tell you what, we'll slip in a short break. Before we do that, keep an eye out on the IT sector on the whole. It was under pressure. It's seeing some further selling right now. Tech Mahindra has moved to the low point of the day. You have Infosys as well. That's seeing some selling. And Wipro and HCL Tech as well. The IT index actually should come up for you. That's moved to the low point of the day. And the rupee, remember, it's at the highest levels we have seen since August 2018. And that explains why we're seeing such a big cut on the IT index.
Like you're watching your stocks, let's get chatting. We have some more queries that have come in. Mr. Varun Sharma is now on the line with us from New Delhi. Mr. Sharma, good afternoon, sir. How can we help you?
Good afternoon, ma'am. I'm holding Edelweiss Financial shares. I have about 325 shares of about 260. I was just in a dilemma that what should I be doing?
Okay, Prakash, just a short while back, we addressed this query on Yes Bank as well. Somebody who's making a huge loss now, once again, on Edelweiss. Would you advise averaging at these levels? What should the person do?
I would say yes, advise. Why? Because low that we have seen closer to around 120 zone, 130, 40 zones, it's a beautiful low to work with. So I wouldn't worry about it. It looks like it's bottomed out. It's a good textbook pattern out there. It's climbing to around 250 zones. So you can see a move from 185 where it is trading now to 250. May take its own sweet time for that. But if you want, your question is averaging. Of course you can. If it comes down, average. If you don't feel like this, buying now, then wait for it. Otherwise, you can continue averaging it. Nothing to worry about it. It might see a slide, but don't wait for it. Average.
Okay, all right. So that's the view coming in on Edelweiss. Well, let's go to our next query then. We have Mr. Krishna who writes to us from Andhra Pradesh. He holds around 50 shares of Exide at around 228 rupees since the last 1 month. Long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold on or sell. He is absolutely at the break-even point currently. Gaurang, what would your view be? He's a long-term investor is what he's saying.
So continue to hold on, and you do get dips. You can definitely average as well. We maintain a positive view on Exide Industries from a long-term point of view. Auto ancillary OEM segment company. And I think the biggest driver over the next couple of years, Nigel, is going to be the EV segment launches that we are likely to see. I think over there, both Exide Industries as well as Amara Raja Battery are going to play a very crucial role.
Okay, up next, a query comes in from KNV Ganesh, and he's on the line with us from Hyderabad. Mr. Ganesh, good afternoon. Tell us, what's your question?
Yeah, I'm having around 500 shares of Balkrishna Industries, and my investment price is around 920. So, can I hold it for further, or can I come out of this
Okay, so 920 is your buy price, right? So you've just seen some slight gains at the moment. Prakash, he remains invested for a further up move?
Of course. I think you might see a dip, in fact, now because it's run up too fast. But that doesn't mean that it's not going to go up. In fact, it will go up. It can climb to the levels closer to around 1030 to 1050 zones. So remain invested, I would.
Okay, all right. So that's the view that's coming there. By the way, we have some news coming on Bharat Dynamics. We've seen a lot of these public sector companies. We had HAL as well that declared, a dividend just a short while back. And this as well, these cash-rich companies towards the end of the year, they pay out a larger chunk in terms of dividend. And that's precisely what has happened in terms of this company as well. But that's about Bharat Dynamics. Moving to our next query, we have Mrs. Anchal, who writes to us from New Delhi. She holds around 50 shares of Strides Pharma at around 700 rupees since the last 1 year. Long-term investor wants to know whether or not to hold or to sell. We have to keep an eye out on this one. I'm not too sure whether it's fallen from 700 to around 440 because remember there was the demerger that had taken place as well. They put the human API separately. That's Sequent Scientific. They put Solara as well separately. That was the other API division. But let's get Gaurang's view. Gaurang, your view on Strides?
We maintain a positive view on Strides, Nigel, and of course, I'm also concerned of the acquisition price and the time, and of course the corporate development. But nevertheless, I think the entire pharma sector overall, Nigel, we at Geojit believe I think the worst is behind. Stock specific, pharma sector stock specific, I think you are definitely going to see much more better performance than what we've seen over the last year and a half too. And Strides Pharma happens to be one of them. So stay invested, and if you can average, you can definitely average it.
Okay. Prakash, you have an opinion on Strides Pharma?
Yes, I feel that it's still looking good to me. I don't see much downside. The low that we have seen recently looks like that's a bottom. So I don't think it's going down. I think it's upside. May take its own sweet time. It has some resistance around 550. Once it crosses that, it's good green. Hold on.
Okay, up next a query from A. Padma. She's written to us from Kerala. She has 1,500 shares of DB Realty, which she bought at about 42 odd rupees for the last 3 months. She's a long-term investor and wants to know what to do. So, Gaurang, a long-term investor investing in DB Realty seems like, quite
lucky guy.
Well, quite strange actually, if you ask me. But nevertheless, what would you advise her? I mean, her investment is almost halved now. So, any advice for her? Or should she just bite the bullet and perhaps look elsewhere?
So this is what exactly we keep on telling investors, ask questions before investing. And DB Realty, by the way, Sumera, has been in the news flow for all the wrong reasons, which is not in the current time. I'm talking about last 3, 4, 5 years. The news flow has been extremely disturbing on corporate governance side, on project, on order completion, on debt on the balance sheet, etc., etc. We do not cover such stocks, but in case if you want to pay the turnaround that is likely to happen in the real estate pack, then I don't know if Prakash has got any pullback levels on the higher side which may minimize her loss. But I think Godrej Properties or a Shobha Limited or a Prestige Estates would be the right companies in the real estate sector if you want to play the turnaround that has happened post the GST changes.
Okay, all right. Well, so that's the view coming in on DB Realty. Then let's do one thing on that note. Just keep an eye on the markets. When we started off the show, we were trading in the green, mildly in the green. But currently, I think Infosys, that's the one that's dragging the index. That's moved to the low point of the day. And with that, we also have ICICI Bank. Now, that's a rather large weight on the index as well as on the Nifty Bank. That as well has moved into the red. Now, it's down only around 0.5%, but that's struggling. And even IndusInd Bank has now moved into the red. That was holding in the green with a gain of close to around 0.5% also. I think we should get IndusInd Bank as well up for you on the screen. And the Nifty Bank now is up only around 30 points. Early morning, it was up more than 200 points. Slip in a short break, come back, continue answering all your queries. Stay with us.